Wow. I mean, wow, just wow. But yeah, let's just say this game was a hell of a game by the Wild. I mean, so for those of you who don't know, the Wild go into Madison Square Garden on Henrik Lundqvist night, by the way, go down 2-0 after one and end up winning in regulation 3-2. Cheers, fellas. Hell yeah, fellas. I mean, no matter what you want to say, this was a hell of a victory for these guys. A hell of a victory for these guys because, I mean, going into this game, New York was one of the hotter teams in the league. I mean, the Rangers are one of the top teams in the league. And, of course, it has to be Zuccarello who really got this game going for us. And Gaudreau, Freddie Gaudreau, who had a penalty shot opportunity that didn't connect, ended up getting the game-winning goal. But you want to know what also, too, with the Wild? And this and that and the other thing? I also have a pretty big announcement to announce to you guys here. And yes, I definitely have, enjoyed myself tonight, if you haven't noticed. But wow. Going down 2-0 after one. Coming back to win in regulation, nonetheless, 3-2 in New York on Henrik Lundqvist night, nonetheless. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist, in my opinion, is one of the best goaltenders to have never won the Cup. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist to New York. I mean, what more can you say? You just hear the name Henrik Lundqvist, and that brings back a lot of memories. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist was one of the better goaltenders of all time, even though he never won a cup in New York. And with all of his medical conditions in Washington, which again was kind of an interesting move there, but on Henrik Lundqvist night, the Wild go down 2-0 after one and come back to win in regulation 3-2. Cheers. When Freddie Gaudreau had the game-winning goal, and that's not even the biggest news for the day for your boy. For those of you who don't know, well, let's just say today, I pulled the trigger. My dad and I will be going to a Minnesota Wild game against the Canucks on March 24th. And wow, am I excited for that. Got the tickets and got everything else confirmed today. So, I'll be so excited to watch this team live on March 24th in the Xcel Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota against the Vancouver Canucks. And Bruce Boudreau, former Minnesota Wild coach. So, yeah, I'm very excited for that. And boy, it's amazing because really up until now, I mean, I was supposed to go to a Timberwolves game a couple years ago, if you remember that, but because of weather and all that stuff, we could never go. So, knocking out the Minnesota Wild, which has not so, I guess, slowly or surely. Basically, the Minnesota Wild have turned into my second favorite team, even over the Twins, even though I've been to like 4 or 5 Twins games. But for me, I like hockey more than baseball, which, if you haven't noticed by now, but again, going to my first ever NHL game against the Vancouver Canucks, who, I mean, I will say the Vancouver Canucks should be a quote-unquote easy team to roll over, but if you know anything about the NHL, there's no such thing as an easy game, you know? I mean, good Lord, again, just think of this game tonight, because the Wild were down 2-0 after one. 2-0 after one. And for me as a Wild fan, that shows me this team has heart. This team has determination. This team has grit. And Freddie Gaudreau in the third period gets the game-winning goal after Fiala and Zuccarello. By the way, Zuccarello was the, I guess, one of the guest face-off players for, you know, like one of the face-off puck drop guys for the Henrik Lundqvist night, because for those of you who don't know, Matt Zuccarello spent most of his career in New York for the Rangers and played with Henrik Lundqvist. I mean, both of those guys were very, very close in the NHL. But wow. I mean, the Minnesota Wild are showing to me why this team could be a championship caliber team. Going down 2-0 in Madison Square Garden, by the way. If you know anything about sports, I mean, Madison Square Garden is one of the venues to go to. After going down 2-0 after one, and rallying back to win 3-2 in regulation, by the way, in what arguably is one of the most emotional nights in sports history, especially in NHL history. I mean, this team has everything right now. And as a Wild fan, it's kind of refreshing to see because, well, again, being a Vikings fan, I don't really think I have to go much more into that. But still, I mean, wow. It just goes to show that this team has heart. This team has grit. And for the first time ever, my dad and I will be going to see this team live at the Xcel Energy Center against the Vancouver Canucks. Boy, I'm excited for this. On March 24th. I can't wait. But granted, with all that said, and all the beers that I've consumed tonight, well, I'll just go ahead and say this. This team looks like a championship caliber team. And I don't say that lightly because, again, the New York Rangers are not a slappy team. I mean, the New York Rangers are not a slappy team by any means this year. I mean, especially on a very emotional night. I mean, again, retiring a number for anyone on, any given night is a very difficult thing to do in general. But, yeah, it's just, it just makes things that much more special if you can actually get it done. Especially because, again, Matt Zuccarello was a Ranger for a long time with Henrik Lundqvist. So, and then, of course, I finally get to go see my first ever NHL game live, man. I'm so excited for that. So, but yeah, basically to wrap this up, the Minnesota Wild managed to come back from 2-0 down after one period to win 3-2 in regulation. Cheers. So, until we meet again, this is Jacob. Have a good night.